I like a sales call. I like being able to get on to a Zoom with somebody, have a face-to-face conversation and see where they're at, like what lights them up about their business. And be able to have that face-to-face conversation with somebody and then be able to share like the passion that I have as well and what they actually get from joining our mastermind. My name is Jessica Moloney, and I am a business coach, also a motivational speaker and author. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and the founder of Boss Babes Who Brunch, which is a business building mastermind and networking community for female entrepreneurs who are ready to build a dynasty business. We started in September of 2023, and we've been going strong since then. We've evolved a lot, and it's really fun to watch everything kind of coming together and evolving. We started with just networking events, doing once a month get-togethers on a Saturday or Sunday, going to brunch. And our conversations from there just got so deep, and we would sit at these restaurants for hours and hours, and we'd talk about business, we'd talk about growth, and that's when the idea for this mastermind was born. I personally have been in a lot of different coaching containers and mentorships, and I've worked with a lot of incredible people along my personal business development journey. And I realized that Long Island is just not a place that had that same type of community. So I decided to build it. So our networking events developed into this online mastermind where we get together and we strategically talk about business growth, and we do monthly trainings, and we work together. We really put our minds together to figure out how can we create massive amounts of income and impact, grow in our business individually and collectively so that we can reach these levels of dynasty businesses where we're able to be known as the one and leaders in our industries. So I've had a lot of fun just getting to know incredible business owners along the way and watching some of the women that have come into our community really grow and develop and just expand in so many different ways: confidence, visibility, income levels, freedom. And we really try to work on a lot of different components of business growth inside of the mastermind, including strategic visibility, messaging mastery, and this identity evolution that allows women to think bigger and lead louder and show up in just this unapologetic way where they can become known as the ones, the standouts in their industry. And I just think it's so incredible where when women step into that power, that like, I know I can do anything kind of power, and they have the audacity to believe that they can make anything come to life that they want, it changes the game. I started as a licensed mental health counselor. I've been doing that for almost 20 years at this point, and I found myself in a situation at the end of 2020. I had recently gone on my own personal development journey, and I discovered this whole world of personal development that I had no idea existed. And it was fascinating. And by the time the end of 2020 happened, I had found myself in an emotionally abusive relationship, and I was able to set myself free because of the journey that I had personally gone on. And I knew at that point in my mental health career that I wanted to be able to do more. I wanted to be able to empower women in a different way, to be able to make sure that they flawlessly knew their worth and they never settled for less than they deserved. And that's when I knew I had to step out from the one-to-one counseling, at that point behind a computer screen because it was COVID. And I wanted to step out from the traditional therapy methods and empower women in a different way. So I stepped into the coaching world and I started doing women's empowerment coaching. I started sharing my story on stages. I had the pleasure of sharing stages with my mentor, Les Brown, Jillian Michaels, Vivica A. Fox. And I just fell in love with being able to coach other women in this capacity. And through that evolution and I was featured in Times Square for sharing my messages of self-love and body positivity. And I even was able to receive awards for my contributions to entrepreneurship and female empowerment. And I realized that female entrepreneurs were just my people. I love the mindset of a female entrepreneur. It's just so different from so many other people that I've ever met. And being a single mom at the time, I couldn't really get to a lot of other networking events to be able to meet other people on Long Island so that's what kind of started the whole Boss Babes Who Brunch thing. So I started as a licensed mental health counselor. It evolved into women's empowerment coaching, and through that started our networking and business coaching mastermind where we could really just bring it all together. And I do actually use a lot of psychological components in my coaching styles because there's so much that really applies to human behavior. And it's something that I've studied for 20 years. So understanding why people do the things they do, why people buy, why people, feel the way that they feel, how to trigger certain emotions. It's so valuable in our messaging to the world, which now in this digital age, it's all messaging. So being able to be seen and heard in a way that gets you remembered, it has really come full circle where I'm able to use a lot of the things that I've experienced personally, educationally, and professionally, and turn it into a coaching capacity for the women that I work with now.
You mentioned the word mastermind a couple of times. Can you
Mhm.
break down what that actually is?
Yeah, so our mastermind is a group of female entrepreneurs. We come together virtually, and a mastermind is really just kind of putting our heads together to figure out how we can collectively grow. So, how that works inside of the Boss Babes Dynasty Mastermind is we have trainings where I'll come in with a topic of the month, and we'll talk about visibility, for instance, and we'll talk about different types of visibility, how to create it, how to strategically maneuver and create relationships so it allows you to increase your visibility. And then we can talk about different ways that some people are struggling with that. We've had other women inside of the container be able to offer insights as well. So it's not just from me. I'm able to bring in other guest speakers from my experiences and my journey along the way who have different types of expertise, which I think is really great because learning from one person is fantastic. When you have other perspectives and opinions, it really helps because not everybody learns the same way. So I like when we do have that opportunity to really come in collectively and let's say, okay, here's what we talked about. Now let's talk about it. So it allows that space to really get some questions answered because learning strategy and techniques and things like that is great. But without application, I think a lot of people just they gather information and then it just sits. So I'm big on being able to allow that space for us to think about it, figure it out, and apply it all in the same time. I love to learn and consume, and then it's like, okay, I need to start using this in my business or using this in my life, whatever it is, because that's the hard part,
Mm.
right? It's like, oh yeah, I know what to do, but how do I do it or what's the best way to do it? And we live in a world where just there's so much information and we don't even know what's right anymore between the internet and ChatGPT and, Susie, who you met the other day at brunch, there's always so much information and it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
So if we can kind of put it into some sort of flowing river, put it into some sort of understandable methodology, I think that that's just is
Yeah,
necessary.
absolutely. What is some examples of things you've talked about with visibility that have actually helped your businesses, the business owners inside of that group?
Well, a lot of the women, when they come to me, they're looking for more clients. They're looking for more customers. They're looking to get in front of the right people who are going to be able and willing to buy their services or products. So when we talk about visibility, there's so many different aspects of it. First of all, there's the willingness to be seen. And a lot of people, I think that they want to be seen, but also struggle with this internal battle of I want to be seen, but I'm afraid to be seen for who I really am. And that was something that I had gone through. I'm tall, right? I'm 5'9". So I always wanted to shrink, because I thought that I was different. I was too different than everybody else. Right. So I wanted people to notice me. I wanted to have friends and I wanted boys to like me and I wanted all these things, but I also didn't want to be seen as different than everybody else. I wanted to just fit in. I wanted to be, part of the group. And I think that we've in some way socially been conditioned to want these things, that to be willing to stand out in a way can feel awkward because then there's somebody in your family saying what are you doing on social media? What do you I saw your post the other day, and you have these responses that make you feel a certain type of way and they challenge you to step into this new identity or to stay kind of reserved and general. And I think that there's this willingness to be seen. There's a lot of mental visibility blocks that a lot of us just don't realize we have. And then there's the actual showing up. How often are you showing up? What are you saying when you show up? Are you putting your face on social media? Is your message clear enough to be able to reach the people? Are people seeing what you have? Right? So there's a consistency factor in that. And then it goes deeper into the messaging component. If they see you, are they going to stop? Are they going to stop on your graphic or your reel or the message, or are they going to get to a place where they can actually receive what you're trying to give? And then there's different components outside of social media where you're, connecting with other people who could be potential collaboration partners, or you're doing things like getting on a podcast and creating space for yourself to be seen by not just your audience, but other people's audiences, right? So there's different things outside of social media, obviously networking events, podcasts, TV appearances, press. There's so many different aspects of it. So it's just recognizing which avenues are available to you or ones that you can seek, and then being very purposeful and intentional about, okay, let's go after those things now.
Yeah. After you get past that, the posting and the consistency and everything, but then you said what makes people stop? What do you find in your experience makes people stop?
There's this quote, right? Hustle till your haters ask if you're hiring.
Okay, I have never heard that, but I really like
No,
that. No,
hustle
but
till
I
your
like that a
haters
lot.
ask if you're hiring. Absolutely. There are always going to be people who judge you. But if you, like, most people don't want to do the work, but they all want the results, right? So if you are somebody who's willing to do the work, it's almost like you keep in sight like your future self, and you're just keeping your eye on the prize and allowing all that stuff to exist. And then the more you level up, you'll start seeing all that stuff, and then
That's
you could start
exactly
reaping
right.
the rewards, right? Because when you go to the gym for, like, right, the New Year's resolutioners, like, I've been at the gym for 2 weeks and I'm not seeing any results, right? It's easy to stop, it's easy to give up, but it's in the consistency, the persistence, and your tenacity to keep going.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, like, what makes people stop? I think it's, well, there's a couple of different things. If your audience has gotten to know you, your post might be recognizable. You're using similar colors or similar brand fonts or similar styles, and they're going to see your post and they're going to stop and they're going to look. So there's a whole conversation on branding that goes into creating that stop ability. And then there's trends that you can follow that create stop ability. There's the big thing is the emotional component and being able to convey your message to the right person and hit on something like a deep desire that they have that you can help them solve. I always tell my girls, like, you're not just selling a product or service, you're selling something else. You're selling the result of buying that and what that actually does for somebody.
Mm.
So if there's a way that we can convey that in our messaging on social media, which is a quick flipping type of thing, then, like, that's gold. In a 7-second clip or a thought frame that people don't have a lot of attention span. That was the word I was looking for. But if you can catch somebody in like a couple second of attention span and like get them to read something that you wrote, like, that's gold, right? That creates trust,
Mm.
and trust helps buying behavior.
Mm.
I had one of the girls inside of my mastermind. She had said to me once, when I'm not sure what to do or I'm struggling, I'll go to your page and I'll read your posts because your words speak to me. They help me, they remind me, and they motivate me. And I was like, oh my God, like, that's what I want to create. That's what I want to be able to do. So it's so rewarding when you hear that. And one of my clients said to me yesterday, actually, that she had a new client come in and she read her newsletter and she goes, I felt like you were speaking directly to me. And I was like, yes. I was like having a party for her. I was like, that's what we want. We want them to feel that when
Yeah.
you're speaking directly to them and you have something that can help them, that can change their lives. Because it's all about the results, right? Nobody wants to go to the gym at 5 a.m., but everyone wants to look good.
Yeah.
So being able to not sell, come to the gym at 5 a.m. and get out of bed and, struggle. But hey, you wanna look good in that bathing suit as soon as summer hits? You wanna be able to show up at Christmas dinner and be like, "Oh, Susie, you've been working out?"
Yeah.
Like, "You look so good.
Yeah.
That dress looks so nice." Like, we do it for these small results. Like, maybe your aunt has judged you for your body type your whole life, and then you're showing up at Christmas dinner and she's like, "Oh, you look so nice." It's like a small thing, right? Like, not that we should necessarily have our worth dependent on somebody else's beliefs, but sometimes it's affecting us.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
we want to do different.
Yeah.
We want to do better for ourselves, and obviously the results that we get to benefit from outside
Mm.
of that.
Who would you say is the best fit for your networking group?
Well, our networking events are open to all women. I do specify that we work with growth-minded female entrepreneurs. The growth mindset is just something that when you come in, like, you want something more for yourself, and like, that's the part that I love about female entrepreneurs. Like, they're looking for something more. They're not just complacent in where they're at. They're like, this is great and I could be grateful for all these things, but I think there's more for me. I think I can do more. I think I could have more. They create and give more. So all women are welcome at our events. We've had women come that do not have businesses, that are interested in starting businesses, that have been in business for 5 minutes, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So we do have a big range of women that end up coming to our events. We actually had a woman come a couple of months ago and she was like, I don't have a business yet, but I want to have a business and I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I know I want to do it with you guys. So I'm going to join the mastermind. I was like, yes,
Yeah.
this is it. So I think that, it's a beautiful thing when growth-minded women, individuals can come together and have deeper conversations about, what's next. Inside of the mastermind, again, there's really no specifications on how long you need to be in business or if you necessarily have to have a business, but there is that growth mindset. So there's a commitment to yourself, really. Like, do you want to show up? Do you want to grow? Do you want to have this evolution? Do you want to be part of a space where we have expansive conversations on purpose that are designed to help you about designed to help you understand or see what's possible for you. And I think sometimes like those conversations can be intimidating if you don't really know, if you don't really have that clarity on what you want or where you want to go. But if you can come into these conversations and allow these conversations to expand you, like, okay, yeah, what do I want to do with that? Like, who do I want to see me? How do I want to be seen? Right? Like, these are a lot of the introspective questions that we need to ask ourselves when we're just starting out, but also at different levels, right? Like, I'm sure you've experienced this when you were just starting out, like who you wanted to be seen as is maybe different than who you're portraying yourself as now because you've just changed.
Mm. Yeah.
You've evolved. And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of business growth that every time we hit new levels, we have new experiences, we have new evolutions, and we need to kind of redesign certain things because we're speaking to a higher level of ourselves
Mm.
and potentially the clients or customers that we're working with.
How often do you guys meet?
Once a month. We do once a month networking event and we do a once a month mastermind class. And then our higher level memberships do have access to a second Q&A session where we are able to really just have like fluid conversation. And then our top tier mastermind is able to have one-to-one sessions with myself.
The Q&As and the one-on-ones, are those in person or are those?
They're not. They're all virtual. I find it really
Is the
helpful.
mastermind virtual as
The
well?
mastermind is virtual. The events are in person.
Mm-hmm.
So our networking events are in person. Everything else is virtual. And it just allows a lot of flexibility for, our busy schedules or things that we have going on. So you can jump on a call or into a one-to-one pretty much from anywhere now with our phones and everything. So it just creates a lot more flexibility. But we do have different events throughout, like, memberships or throughout the year where we have our members come for in-person things. We did a recent members outing to Horton's Flower Farm out east, and we got to pick flowers and just kind of have some fun with it,
That's
a little
cool.
self-care.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me more about the business coaching. What does that actually entail? What does that look like? And can you elaborate on that?
Sure. Yes. As the business coach, my role is to facilitate the mastermind meetings. So I will design the structure of the trainings that we do. Again, we focus on 3 areas in particular that lead to others, of course, but those areas include strategic visibility, messaging mastery, and creating this identity evolution. So it's really about owning your power and being able to lead yourself and your dynasty business into all the levels that you're aspiring to or you're ascending to. Because it's happening. We're not aspiring, it's just happening. But my role is to facilitate these trainings. So I will come up with training topics for each month, and I will go over different frameworks or different strategies to help facilitate some of these goals that we have. So obviously we talked about visibility earlier and how visibility and messaging tie together and how that will potentially lead into a sales conversation. So I have different methodology that I use. We call it our dynasty method. And inside of that, it is a psychologically infused approach where we're focusing on that strategy, that messaging, and the identity evolution that it takes to become the woman that leads a dynasty business into all the levels that you're aspiring to be. And it's incredible to watch some of these women to have these experiences where they come in with one idea and they're like, this is my business, this is what I want to do. And then after we've gone through some of these structured strategies and this design, they're like, wait, actually, this is who I am and this is who I want to work with. Like, I feel so much more clarity in like how to do this now. And then everything starts falling into place a little bit easier. right? Like when I first started my coaching business, I was like, I'm going to help everybody. I can help anybody. Like I've been a licensed mental health counselor for however many years. I can work with anybody. I work with kids, I work with adults, I work with seniors. And like my first business coach was like, no, no, you can't just work with everybody. If you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. Right? So going through this evolution myself and trying to get very clear on what it is that I wanted to do, who I wanted to be in this capacity. There's a lot that goes into that. So being able to offer strategy and guidance, and then for the women that do have the one-to-one connections, we're really able to take the conversations and the topics and the strategies that we talk about inside of the mastermind meetings and apply it into their specific business. Because I've worked with a variety of different women, from photography to functional medicine to health coaching to event planning. So there's so many different aspects on how to really bring these things to life in your specific business. And like we talked about before too, like sometimes it's the application part that feels so hard, and having an outside perspective, somebody who has gone through some of these evolutions before and can give you insights, has proven to be so valuable. That's why I always have a coach. I always have somebody that I can tap into for mentorship, because I find it so necessary for me to continue to evolve so that I can continue to give the women inside of my community the absolute best, most up-to-date ideas and concepts, because the world is always changing, social media is always changing, and the way that we reach people, I think, has changed just so much in the last 5 years. Like social media is not the same place as it used to be.
I'm curious, can you elaborate on your relationship with your business coach? Because I've never had a business coach.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think a business coach is so valuable because as you're trying to, like, I'm not somebody who has a background in business. My idea to start a business, well, the first business I started was, um, I did like Beachbody, back in 2015 maybe. So I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know I was an entrepreneur at that point. But when I decided to go into the coaching world, that's when I decided to hire my first business coach, because I didn't know the structure of setting up a business or how to make that separate from my mental health business, because there's a lot of legalities and HIPAA laws and things like that, and I wanted to protect myself. So it wasn't necessarily for what I was providing, right? Because you do what you do and you've learned that, and maybe you have a teacher for that or you have somebody to guide you on that, but that's your like zone of genius, right? So being able to then get all the other stuff out there is where the business coach comes in. So I hired my first business coach before I did anything, and I was like, teach me your ways, show me the way, I don't know where to go. And she kind of helped me set up some of the basics with like a website and my LLC. And at that point, her greatest advice to me after the basics were set up was post on Instagram. I was like, post what? What do I say? What do I share? And I didn't really have a lot of like insight on that yet. But she did help me publish my journal, which is a self-guided empowerment journal. And I utilize a lot of the tactics and strategies for, just mindset and overcoming some of your own barriers to help break through that and be able to build the business of your dreams. And then I started working with Les Brown. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's a very famous speaker, and he helped me really perfect my message and being able to share my story on stage, because it was still something that was very fresh for me. So he helped me really craft things. And that's when I first fell in love with like working with other entrepreneurs. It was the first time I was ever in a place where other people wanted to see me succeed just as much as I wanted to succeed. And I don't know if you've ever experienced like other people like warning you like, oh, well, like, no, don't do that because then they'll get it before you. Or, I had somebody tell me like, no, don't tell your friend about that award. Maybe she'll get it instead of you. And I was like, thanks, no confidence. But there was always this world where you had to kind of like step on people or compete with people in order to get places. And inside of a coaching container was the first time that I experienced people really supporting each
Mm.
other. And I worked with a couple of different coaches. I've had a marketing coach that I've worked with. I've had a sales coach that I've worked with. The mentor that I'm working with now, she's a little bit more overall. And she's really helped me to refine my message and to really get clear on how I want to show up in the world and the type of woman and leader that I want to be inside of this world of Boss Babes Who Brunch. Because as I mentioned, we started with just networking and it evolved into this place where I have all of this knowledge. I have all these insights, and being able to share that with women, like whether it's at brunch or it's over a computer screen, is just so exciting to me and so much fun. And I'm like, oh, this, like I'm an ideas girl. So I'm always formulating something, and to be able to give that back after everything that I've absorbed is just so incredible. And as my group grows and as I continue to evolve, like I need to continue to innovate. And I think that like I love that. I love plugging into it because it sparks things. It just makes my brain go and like starts that creative juice flowing. Like it's either at the gym or it's in mentorship. Like those are the things that just get me thinking. And I don't know if I would be able to deliver to my clients the same way as if I was not plugged into mentorship, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
What would be, from your experience, the going rate for a mentor or a business coach, so that the audience might know that they're not getting ripped off?
Well, I mean, outside of pricing, like I would encourage anybody to ask as many questions as you possibly can. Like when I hired my first business coach, I went to like a class that she was doing, and she gave like all of her best, materials out there. And I was like, oh, sign me up. And I didn't really know what I was signing up for. Like she was actually a branding coach, not a business coach. But I didn't know the difference at that time. So my first line of advice would be like, ask questions, right? Figure out what you want to get out of this experience and see if that person is going to be the one who's able to deliver that. Because there are business coaches that focus on a variety of different things. You can hire a business coach that focuses on helping you go viral on Instagram. But if you're like, well, I want more than virality, like I need to figure out like what I want to be viral for,
Hmm.
right? Or I want to have more sales. I don't need to be viral. I just want to make money, right? So depending on what you're looking for, there's going to be a different type of business coach out there. Business coaching I've seen range from like $100 to $100,000. So it really depends on like who you're working with, the amount of time that you get with that person, and what the deliverables really are. Like, what are you looking to get out of this? If you're looking for one-to-one capacity, you're obviously going to pay more for that, but you're probably going to get a lot more for that because you have somebody's eyes on your business who's been through it. You have somebody giving you like they're able to plug in spaces that you just don't see a rope in right now,
Hmm.
and then, depending, like maybe you do want a community, maybe you don't care about community, maybe you want the group chat, maybe you're like, I don't really want to deal with other people, So it really depends on like your personal wants, but as far as pricing, like it can range, like I said, from 100 to 100,000, depending on different containers. Like my first year in business, I spent $20,000 on coaching, in the places that I was at because I knew that I needed to invest because I didn't feel like I was confident enough in myself to be able to run a business.
Hmm.
Now I've learned a lot more about it, and through the people that I've hired and the experiences that I've had and the places that I've put myself, like it really is so valuable. So just depending on where you're at and what you're ready and willing to invest and what the outcome of that is, right? Like a lot of people say like, well, what's the cost? Well, what's the cost of you not doing it? What does that
Mm.
potentially do if you stay exactly where you are for the next year?
Trust me, I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. I'd love to know, I'd love to pick your brain a little bit more about the coach you had for sales.
Mhm.
What are some things that you got out of that?
Well, it's it's challenging, right? Because like, there's so many different angles on what sales is and how to sell, and should it be that your messaging and your marketing is just making people want to buy, or is it are you getting on sales calls? I've had so many different, well, a couple different mentors really focus on sales with me, and it really depends on the level that you're at in your business and what you prefer, right? Like one of my mentors, she's like, I don't do sales calls, all my sales are in the DMs, right? And she has application funnels that she utilizes. So there are funnel systems that bring people into her sales channels, and then there's all of the automations and the systems that are set up on the back end that help facilitate those things. I like a sales call. Like maybe I won't in a couple of years, but like I like a sales call. I like being able to get on to a Zoom with somebody, have a face-to-face conversation and see where they're at. Like what lights them up about their business, and be able to have that face-to-face conversation with somebody, and then be able to share like the passion that I have as well and what they actually get from joining
Yeah.
our mastermind. So I think it really depends on the person and the business that like you're working with. But, I've talked to people about sales objections. I've talked to people about, they don't deal with sales objections because if they don't want what they have, then there's not going to be convincing. I don't convince, but I'll challenge, because I see like if somebody comes to you and they're like, oh, like this sounds great. I don't know. It's not a no. It's not like I don't think that this is valuable. It's that like I need a little bit more from you to be able to like understand better what I'm getting or what's included or what the value is. Right? So then you have an opportunity to continue to talk with me about what I can get from it and help ease some of my nervous energy or, worries about what's next.
Yeah.
Right? But if somebody's like, nah, you're kind of like, okay, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
waste my time or energy trying to go through this formula of like, okay, well, why do you feel that way? Or, what if it did cost you this? Would it cost you this?
Yeah.
But I have formulas that I've gotten from coaches that I think are really, really valuable in being able to identify what the struggles are, what the pain points are, and then how you could potentially help them or solve those problems for them.
Yeah. Are you still a mental health counselor, or is this all that you do at the moment?
I still do some mental health counseling. I started my practice back in 2019, just solo, just me, and I do still have a couple clients that I'm seeing there as well.
So what is the actual business model? Is it people coming in for the masterminds and the brunches, or what's the structure of that?
A lot of times the women come in primarily for brunch. It's a great low entry point for them to come in and meet some other women and have brunch and just have this very casual connection point where I'm able to speak a little bit about who I am, what we stand for, and what like the back end of Boss Babes Who Brunch is really all about. And then that helps sometimes bring people into the mastermind. But I also really make it a point to try to reach out to all of the women that do follow me and say, hey, this is who I am, this is what we do, and invite them to be a part of something. Invite them to join us for brunch or invite them to get on a call if they're interested in growing their business any further. So I do try to have a bunch of different touch points so that people feel more comfortable because I feel like, when you join social media, like, well, when I first started Boss Babes Soup Brunch, I was afraid to put my face on my page because I was like, I don't want people to know who I am. And I still was able to get girls to come to brunch with me because I would message them and I would, post and I would try to connect with them so they knew I was a real person. But I joke sometimes and say like, well, you just met a stranger off the internet that you've never seen her face before. And like, that was a real bold move. But now, obviously, I'm a little bit more present on my social media pages. But I think that like you have to be careful sometimes because there's a lot of people out there that just, pay for followers or, don't really deliver the things that they say they're going to deliver. So I really do try to have those relationships with the people and the people that come into the community, people that follow me, people that come to brunch. But it really depends. Sometimes it's just from social media and other times they come to brunch and they feel really connected with what we're doing there and they want to be a part of like having that on a more regular basis.
What is one thing that you would recommend to a new business owner?
Oh, get a mentor real fast. Absolutely. Get a mentor, get really clear with what you want to do, where you want to go, what your message is to the world, who you're speaking to, and what they get out of it.
And what is your message to the world?
Oh, gosh. I feel like I have so many.
But I thought you were supposed to be clear on what your message was, so shouldn't it be?
I know. Well, my message is for female entrepreneurs who want to create a dynasty business, create massive amounts of income, and reach their big, audacious goals of success and freedom.
I'm actually meaning to ask this. How do you define a dynasty business?
A dynasty business? I'm so glad you asked. um, a dynasty, a dynasty is more than just business growth. It's about leading a movement. It's about leaving a legacy and really just stepping into this dangerous level of power that I talked about before. Being able to step into this power and have the audacity to believe that you can do anything that you think you can. It's about creating this level of clarity, confidence, freedom, and time and financial freedom and be able to step into what it is that you're doing in your business, how you're leading yourself, how you're leading the clients and the customers that you serve, that you deliver to, and know that you're making an impact in this world, right? Like so many of the women that come into our community, it's not just about making money, it's about leaving an impact.
Mm.
It's about doing something for other people. It's how we serve.
Yeah.
So a dynasty is more than just a business that blends in. It's something that stands out. It's something that you're a leader of. You're not just, a worker bee.
Yeah.
You're this leader. You're this queen where you can stand up, stand tall, be unapologetically confident, share your message with the world and say, this is what I want to do. I want to lead you. I want to serve you. I want to help you. I have something that can change your life.
Yeah.
And it would be a disservice for you, for me not to share that.
Yeah.
And that's what being a dynasty leader is all about.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you
Yeah,
so much
no,
for taking
thank
the
you.
time. You
It
did
was
great.
fun.